So, out of the many things I want to talk about, as far as UFC 307, um, I really want to talk about Alex Pereira. But before we get into it, if you like the video, subscribe. All I ask, with that out of the way, if you watch my overall review of this card, you know that I was blown away by not only Pereira's performance, but Caballo's performance. Like, without a doubt, that was the toughest fight we've seen Pereira have since Israel Adesanya. Um, and you can argue, and I would, that that was the most competitive fight he's had in the UFC so far. But like everything from the aura, from the fact that he did take this fight on short notice, pretty much. Like this was another card that they had nobody else but Pereira uh, to headline it. Which thank God. If if this card was headlined by Pennington Pena, oh holy shit! Like this card would have been one of the worst cards of all time. I still kind of argue it is, even though we got, I'd say, the best light heavyweight fight of all time. But the focus on this video isn't, you know, the list of, oh man, fuck that fucking card. We're talking about Pereira. Now, if you look at Pereira, right, he came into the UFC in 2021 in November. Um, he knocked out Andre Macaulay Leaders. I'm bad with names. But yeah, second round knockout instantly. Because we heard from like the Joe Rogan podcast, and if you follow MMA, you know that Alex Pereira was a huge deal in Glory, and obviously Israel Adesanya calling him out for years. Like, we knew that Pereira was one of the most talented martial artists out there, but like, who would have expected that like he would translate into this? Which I guess you kind of should have expected because like he is a kickboxer. Kickboxers are very active, but like let's quickly run through the career. Right, comes in November, Madison Square Garden, if I'm not mistaken. Knocked out Andreas Michailidis in the second round. Pretty sure that was a flying knee. He then had that magnificent fight against Bruno Silva that he won by decision. He then knocked out Sean Strickland, which turned out to be an amazing win. Sean Strickland later becoming champion, beating Izzy. His comeback against Israel Adesanya to win the middleweight title. Um, One of the fastest ascents to the title, I'd say. Like, um, a year and 6 days, he becomes middleweight champion. Right? Then Izzy got it back, knocked him out in the second round with a perfectly timed punch. Yeah. Young. Then he moves up to heavyweight, has a really good fight with Jan Blachowicz. Some people say Jan won, I say Alex won. It was a really good fight though. Then he knocks out Yuri in the second round after a competitive first round. he knocked out Jamal after getting nutshotted, which I know is a controversial KO. And then he knocked out Yuri again, and then he ended this year by the best light heavyweight title fight we've ever had. Like, shoot, didn't mean to do that. Like, this year, the year that Pereira has had in the UFC, I don't think it's matched by anybody. Like, yeah, I would say a Connor maybe, but like as far as like wins over opponents, wins for titles, this is the most interesting, dominant run we have ever seen, at least in a while. Like, we've seen Silva, we've seen GSP. GSP's dominance is a lot different. Anderson Silva, he was a talented striker, but he didn't have the power. I would argue as brilliant of a mind in kickboxing as Silva is, Pereira is next level. Um, the weirdest thing ever too. Coca-Cola Oreo. I don't like it. But who would have thought that within 2 years, 2.5 years, this guy will beat the second greatest middleweight of all time on paper. Then lost in the rematch, like I said. Then moved up in the most competitive division we have had in the history of MMA, in the history of the UFC. See, light heavyweight is the premier division. I know we say heavyweight is baddest man on the planet, but to go through some of the names that fought at light heavyweight, John Jones, DC, Anderson Silva fought up there a few times. Ryan Bader, Lyoto Machida, like the list of legends that have fought in 205, and since it is the original weight class, used to be middleweight, but that's another topic. 205 has always been like the premier division, and ever since John Jones retired after those few questionable performances over Lionheart Smith, Dominic Reyes, and Thiago Santos, 205ers in shambles. Like, Glover won it against Jan convincingly, and then Glover got beat by Yuri in a phenomenal fight, and then Yuri gets injured, and then Jamal gets it, then Jamal gets injured, then Alex gets it, and now Alex has beat, Jamal, Yuri, and Khalil. Yuri twice. But, yeah, like, we can talk about him being a star, because he is. He's the biggest star now, second biggest star behind Connor. But, like, when we talk about the greatest fighters of all time, right? When we talk about John Jones. Now, whatever your opinion is, if him being positive for steroids, him with the controversies, whatever. John Jones, Demetrius Johnson, Anderson Silva, GSP, right? Alex Pereira is reaching that discussion. Like, as far as people who are in the conversation for greatest, maybe not the greatest, but as far as greatest fighters of all time, actively right now we have Max Holloway, Volkanovski, first and second best featherweights of all time. I don't know where you put Aldo, but it's between those three, right? You got John Jones, who, like I said, controversies aside, best resume ever. Um, you have Islam Makachev. He's putting together an all-time. Like, here's the thing though. It's the difference is, do you value the wins at a heavier weight class over the wins over a pound for pound opponent? And I know that's the argument against Ankalaev. We'll get to that. But like you have to put him. He's top 15 all time for sure, as of now. But like, let's say he beats Ankalaev next year. He moves up to heavyweight. Let's say at worst he has a competitive fight with Tom Aspinall. He, you have to put him top three minimum. But like I don't know. That's the thing with like, what do you do with Alex Pereira now? He said he wanted time off, but time off for him is like he will be back in March, right? It won't be a year. It won't be a year and a half. But like, let's say he comes back in March, beats the winner of Ankalaev and Rakic, which everybody says Ankalaev is the toughest matchup for Pereira, which I do agree. However, I don't think we're gonna see this crazy performance that everybody I find expects from Ankalaev. Like, he is a really good striker. He can mix in a takedown well, but he's not a wrestler. His style is good. He went to a draw with Jan Blachowicz, but I don't know. I think the thing with Pereira and the thing with the all-time greats is adapting in fights. John Jones adapts better than anybody. Well, better than most in fights, right? You can say the eye pokes, whatever. But if he needs to strike with the opponent, he'll strike with them. If he was going against a high level striker like Cyril Gahn, he knew how to manipulate that, use the wrestling, and get that submission. But like with Pereira, it's much different, right? Pereira, he has a striking that we know of right now. And this is my issue because he trains to go over to Sheriff, which was my point, and my predictions, my point, and my breakdown of the entire pay-per-view. Like, this guy's camp and what he does to train is unreal. Like, he's training Glover, one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in light heavyweight history, I'd say. Um, he goes around in tournaments. He's constantly training with Sean Strickland, top top competitors of the sport. He wants to train with John Jones, which if Pereira and John Jones could give each other tips, dear God, like imagine if Pereira was able to like gauge distance the way he does now, but with the threat of a takedown that John Jones has. And I'm not saying he will get as good at wrestling as John Jones in a few years, but like, oh, I it's the biggest critique of him, but I think it's his greatest strength. And my point is Khabib, right? Everybody said that Khabib wasn't a good striker. They said this about Islam too. Islam being knocked out. Like when you have a part of your game that is working effectively, that is winning you fights, that allows you to hide the other aspects. Like, Khalil Roundtree, the reason this fight was entertaining and much more entertaining than what I thought it'd be is that Khalil Roundtree, unlike Prohaska and Jamal Hill, understood the basic concepts of Muay Thai, right? He knew how to gauge the distance well. You get in with Pereira, make him uncomfortable, open up the big shots, which he landed a ton of. Like, this fight, um, even more so than the Izzy fight, I say, you saw the, the change in Pereira from rounds 1 and 2 to rounds 3 and 4. Um, maybe here, I'm gonna see if I can get the round by round strikes, but like, um, shoot, I don't know how much I'll take too long. But like, with Pereira, and I said this in my breakdown, his greatest strength is his game plan and intimidation. He is able to switch up the game plan instantly. Like you saw in, before round 5 against Izzy in the first fight, where he went out and TKO'd him. But like, it's a Khalil Roundtree from rounds 1 and 2. He was taking the shots, but he was damaging Pereira. Something we haven't seen yet. But like, the fact that Pereira just stays there still, with how heavy the shots that Khalil was throwing at him, he was able to slowly chip away, which is the scariest part. Pereira is a technical striker with God-gifted power. Khalil Roundtree is, yes, a talented striker who is mainly a brawler. And like when you watch the fight, you can just slowly see the momentum from the start of the fight going all the way towards Khalil, and then once one little hole opens up for Pereira, then the downfall happens. You know, the cut on the nose, and then eventually it was, obviously the leg kicks every time, but the hooks to the body, and the jabs to the body, or what did it for a Roundtree wasn't even, a big left hook or how it usually is. Like, Pereira showed in this fight, and in every one of his fights, that he is a completely different level of kickboxing than we've seen before. The only comparable is Izzy, who he's tied to in history forever with. But yeah. Like I said, uh, as far as the GOAT conversation, we might be saying within, you know, a year and a half to 2 years, Pereira is the definitive greatest of all time. But yeah. Let me know in the comments, where do you rank Pereira all time? What do you think about his improvements in every fight? Um, and yeah, thanks for watching. Later.